My bad for the stuffed nose. I'm sick. I'm really sick. But I can't wait any longer. I need to make a video talking about the politics of the USA and Ukraine and how things have been changing the last week, it seems like. First of all, this is not a political video. I don't make political videos on my channel. You're not going to find out in this video what my political leanings are, but you will find out how I disagree with how our president is dealing with international affairs. So to start things off, big surprise. The same president who abandoned the Kurds I was with in Iraq and Syria, and will probably do again, then abandons our Ukrainian allies that we have been supporting for the last 3 years. The same brothers and sisters that I have fought with on the front line against these invaders, against a true dictator, Putin. This guy's been in power for the last 2 decades, maybe 3. The Ukrainian soldiers I trained, the ones that I served with, would wear American patches on their helmet, on their sleeve, to show appreciation for how much the Americans have been helping them and how much they appreciate all the support that we gave them. You know, these guys that I trained were 50, 55 years old. These guys grew up in the Soviet Union where the Americans were the bad guys, where they were the ones that were going to be threatening their livelihood. Now 3 years later, look at what we've done. These soldiers proudly wore these American flags to and from the front line, making rotations on the front line, getting bombarded. We've all seen the videos. I've shared some, but every other day it seems like a video comes out where the notch that this war is in, it just keeps pushing up. The brutality from it, the absolute, it's insane. And these guys held the brunt from everybody in Europe as well as the US for the last 3 years, knowing that the Americans had their back and that they were going to be there to support them with as much as they could. Well, not anymore. Most of the guys that I trained or know on the front line have been injured, or worse, death, and they gave their blood for the chance of sovereignty from tyranny. The same tyranny that we Americans pride ourselves in, that our ancestors fought against. Again, I'm not getting into the politics of it all. That's a can of worms that I'm not opening up in this video. But I'm going to talk about what this war really is, that never-ending wish-washiness of morale. It's not a uniquely American thing to have wish-washy morality, but in the last couple decades, our history has certainly seen us strive after wind, as King Solomon said. We strive after wind, whatever the new wind is, whatever the new thing to like, or the new thing to back, the money's here, we need to fund this person. We like to just grab onto anything and then throw it away the next week. Morale is the most important thing of war, and morale is innate to your soul, to your very being. For all the bad that ISIS and Al-Qaeda and whoever you want to mention do in this world, you have to give it to them that their morale is set in stone. It's in their soul. We have the watch, but they have the time. That's a classic quote out there. It's very true. Does ISIS still exist? Yeah. Does Al-Qaeda still exist? We all know that. I know that for sure. And that's the number one thing that I learned from the Kurds that Trump abandoned. Same Kurds that Mad Dog Mattis resigned for. You remember Mad Dog Mattis, how we were so excited about him coming in? He's an awesome dude. He was great. Well, he resigned, and Trump then said, he's part of the swamp. He was in charge of the Department of Defense. He resigned because he didn't want the memory of him to be attached to the abandonment of the Kurds. Not wanting to carry this abandonment on his shoulders and people's memory of him. The Kurds have fought one of the longest freedom-fighting wars in the world, I think only beaten by some groups in Burma, through thick and thin, digging into the earth for years and years, eating spoiled spam and fighting the worst terrorists alive, all for a future that they most certainly aren't going to see. Maybe not even their grandchildren. This is where the Kurds get the quote, "Our only friends are the mountains." They knew that the USA would abandon them like they always do. George Bush Sr. egging on the Kurds saying, hey, we're gonna back you if you stand up to Saddam Hussein. Well, they stood up. 50,000 of them, women, children, men, were killed by mustard gas by the Saddam Hussein regime, and the Americans didn't come. Why then are we surprised that the USA does it again? I am a patriot. I love my country. I served proudly in the Marine Corps. I love the foundations that our country was built on. I love the people of America. But it's shameful for me as an American to feel like I have to do my own foreign fighting on my own time and dollar and risk to fight for causes that we say that we stand for when we actually don't. But enough of that. The same morale that I see in the Kurds, I see in the Ukrainians. The soldiers I know step into the most brutal land war to fight every day. You guys see what my limited exposure on the front line is like. You guys have all seen the same drone videos and GoPros I've seen from online. These guys risk not seeing their family again, not seeing their girlfriend again, having them see him in a closed casket, march to the grave and forgotten or remembered. But let's remember appeasement. What does appeasement give us? Well, the Ukrainians know what appeasement gives you. Same with the Kurds. The Ukrainians know this from their long history of oppression and genocide at the hands of the Russians, the Holodomor, 2014, 2022, just name it. They rewrite their history, they take away the Ukrainian language, they steal their children, they steal their people, they genocide them. They know what this is. They know that appeasement is not the answer. You can't appease. It's not their fault. When they get invaded, they have to stand up for themselves. And when they stand up for themselves, you can't just change your mind 3 years later. And speaking on the Kurds, they know this from the massacres and oppression from the Turks. They've been dealing with this for a long, long time, and they stand up for themselves, and no matter who backs them. It's the Americans one day, it's the Russians another day, it's the Syrian government. Everybody's our enemy. They have their morale in their hearts, just like the Ukrainians. The morale can't be shot away. It's always there, and it's gonna be there until you kill them. To appease to these powers means erasing who you are. If the Nazis invaded the USA and said, you're gonna speak German now, and they rewrote our history, and they meddled in our politics, would that sit right with you? And then you say, oh, but there's NATO on the border. It's like, what? Why don't we let Russia into NATO? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because they have a dictator. They don't have their shit together. Maybe we need to wait a little bit. Maybe they're gonna go and tear it apart. So many things. I can get into all that stuff, but you already know the answers to this. So how can you tell the Ukrainians or Kurds, who are a peace-loving people, a minority, a tiny population compared to Russia or Turkey or Iran or whoever they are, that they need to submit their identity, their language, their history, their culture? They need to submit all of that. Calling Zelensky a dictator, calling the Ukrainians Nazis, saying the Ukrainians started this war is completely against common sense. I'm not going to delve into all this stuff. You all know it. But for anybody who's just watching, spend 5 minutes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. What do you see? Do you see Russia being the aggressor? They're the aggressor, yes? Is it NATO? Is it Ukraine having their own people, have their own language? And who do you think is the aggressor? What do we know from history? A giant nation who has a history of imperialism and a small country that's 30 years old. You think this one is trying to take something from this big one? No, it is not. Just, oh my God. I'm not here to cite what happened in 1429 under a king, whatever. I'm just gonna simply ask you, what has been in front of you for the last 3 years? I could talk about this for hours, but I'm sick, and I don't really want to do that right now. I just want to encourage all of you that are listening to stand up against the wind. It's okay to be the odd one out. It's all right to be the person with a different view. I have always been that guy. There's not one person that I know that when I open up to them, they don't give me a weird look. I stand up for what I believe in, and I encourage you to do that as well. This isn't a call to action. I'm just saying that just being yourself and being the odd one out and believing when your government doesn't believe it anymore, when things, the tides change and everything, it takes balls, and that is what character is. Sticking with your integrity, sticking with what you believe in, not changing with whatever the next cool thing is. That proves who you are, that proves that you have character, it proves that you are who you say you are. And you're not afraid to stand up for what's right, what you believe is right. And that's what makes a person. That's what makes a human. You're not a robot. You were created to have autonomy, to make your own choices, make your own decisions, and how you view things. And you don't need to be carried away by politics or whatever. Just look with your eyes, and you can usually tell what's right and wrong. And I can honestly say, I believe that all of you watching that are subscribers, we're on the right side of history. No matter if history changes in the future or right now or in the past, they're gonna know us as the people who are standing up for the right thing. These lunatics we see on the TV right now might never learn what they're cheering for, but we'll know, and we'll support them for as long as we can. They can take our watch, but they can never take our time. So that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And I hope I encouraged you and not brought you down. That's what we need right now. We need morale. Keep on the fight, even when you're sick. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.